Welcome back to another edition of the Unreasonable Odds podcast. Steve Buchanan here with my co-host Julian Edlow as we kind of wrap up week 5, look ahead for Monday Night Football tonight, sprinkle a little MLB talk with the playoffs as well. And then, of course, as we always do on Mondays, one of our favorite segments, Odds Are, with Johnny Avello joining the show per the usual. Julian, what's up, man? How are you feeling?
Feeling good. It was a pretty good Sunday. A couple silly mistakes, a couple good cashes, a pretty big teaser looming on Monday Night Football to finish the week strong. I know you did well as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a good week for the cash it or trash it segment. So let's just dive right into it because when we have a good week, we want to talk about it. When we have a bad week, we try to sweep it under the rug, just like everybody else on Twitter. Only see the good stuff, not the bad stuff. And we do the exact same thing here on the podcast. Great week for cash it or trash it. Some of our best bets cashed easily this week. It wasn't even an issue here. What do you got for cash it this week?
Yeah, we were 3 for 3 on the Bills. I know your best bet wasn't them directly, but when we had Drew Martin on Thursday, Drew and I both gave out Bills plus 3 as our best bet. We said we'd be on some Bills money line. And it wasn't even close. It was exactly what I thought that game would be, except even more magnified towards the Bills taking control in the AFC. Yeah. Which is something I'll talk a little bit about with Johnny Avello when he joins us about those future odds in the AFC, because this was a big game. This is what I thought it was for the Bills, what it meant for the Bills. It was taking the top, not seed, just the top perception in the AFC is always the Chiefs. I think the Bills successfully took that by going into Arrowhead and almost doubling them up on the scoreboard. So yeah, a lot of Bills spread, a lot of Bills money line, cashed very nicely.
Josh Allen only completed 15 passes in that game. They went for 315 yards. Like, just absolutely absurd to see those kind of numbers and see somebody average 21 yards per completion in that game. The Bills started out strong, never looked back, scored in every quarter. They just absolutely trampled the Chiefs. That was part of my best bet too as well, but I teased them to +9, which was never a doubt. Wasn't even something you had to worry about. And as well as the Bengals, getting them to 9, going against the Packers, which was, the Bengals won that game 4 times. If people knew how to kick the ball correctly.
The Packers won it 4 times also.
That's right.
If there was ever a game that deserved to end in a tie, Bengals Packers deserved to end in a tie.
Mason Crosby coming into that game, 26 field goals made in a row, then missed the next 3, was absolutely incredible. But then the Bengals followed that up with some kicking issues of their own, which, just leads me to my overall sentiment that kickers should be banned in the NFL. Very popular trend on Twitter. Happy to be a part of that community. Thank you for having me. But the teaser, at least, getting the Bengals at +9, easy cash there. So getting both teams at +9, -120, really a sweat-free week for the best bet there too as well. I also had talked about on our Sunday show that I really like the Chargers at -2.5. Just an absolute slugfest in that second half there between the Browns and the Chargers. But the Chargers ended up being able to prevail with a win in that week, and also cash that 2.5, which for a while didn't even look like it had a chance. But the Chargers just absolutely coming out. I don't want to say dominating the second half because the Browns are right there with them, but at least if you go by the amount of scores that the Chargers had in the second half, they just kept consistently going, both teams really just going downfield, answering the other team there, but the Chargers were able to cash that -2.5.
Yeah. So we got another cash it kind of pending up in the air. The Minnesota got that one early to -1 on the teaser. Needed it because they win by 2 on that field goal, reminiscent of the Ravens game. The poor Lions just keep losing on these desperation drives to field goals. So yeah, the Vikings Ravens teaser kind of hanging up in the air. And I think that if you want to get in on Baltimore, we'll talk about this when we kind of move forward to week 6. But I think you can tie a week 5, week 6 teaser together if you wanted to use Baltimore tonight. And there's a few games next week that you can tie them into. Yep. So not all is lost if you still want to, be rooting for the Ravens as a teaser leg and you don't still have them open from this past week. But as for trash it, I think I might have done my dumbest loss of the season. And it has nothing to do with NFL.
Oh,
Yeah. If you read my best bets article, well, I don't care about the big Alabama first half loss. I mean, I do care. I wanted to win that. Lost my best bet of the college football season. Won every other bet.
My only time. My once a year college football bet lost convincingly. Okay.
I'm going to give out a college football free play right now before I do trash it.
Oh, great.
Alabama first half on Saturday. They are going to be so mad about that loss, and they are going to come out absolutely scorching at Mississippi State. I will be doing it again for a lot of units. Alabama first half at Mississippi State, I promise.
Okay, so now hold on. Now, the 4 units you bet on this one was your biggest college play. Will this exceed the 4 units?
We'll probably match it.
Boo.
Coward. It's Monday. Give me some time to decide. Maybe it'll go to 5. We'll see. At Alabama first half on Saturday night, lock it up. Here's my dumbest loss of the NFL season. I was nervous about the points in the Titans-Jags game. The spread got cut in half. Why was it so nervous? Why does this make me so nervous with it such an obvious spot to just fade the Jags? So what did I do? I avoided the points by doing a 1.5 unit money line parlay. The Titans, Georgia, who rolled over Auburn, and Alabama money line. Minus 900 just to get everything down to minus 116. Titans win and cover. Georgia wins and covers. Alabama 18-point favorite loses outright at the buzzer. Game-losing field goal. That's how you trash a ticket. Absolutely blew it. I made up for it a little bit by coming back with a 1-unit play on Titans minus 4.5 on Sunday. But that just gets me to whatever that is, down like fractional units rather than just playing what I wanted, lay the points with the Titans and get the win. That was silly. Losing a bet on a minus 1,000 money line team, not getting there for you.
I mean, there's just so many easier ways that you can get down to like a 116 bet or a minus 120 bet. You don't need to do all these crazy things and need all these outcomes to happen.
But
you don't need all these
Georgia and Alabama are different. Georgia and Alabama are different animals. Like those are barely even outcomes. I just picked the wrong week. They win every week.
I'll tell you one thing that another thing it was a bad week for, taking any overs on Jalen Waddle.
Yeah. Is this your trash it?
This is my trash it. This was, it's kind of a two-part trash it here. So I saw that everybody, and this starts with DFS, everybody was gravitating towards Jalen Waddle to go over all of his numbers, over his 4.5 receptions, over his 56.5 receiving yards. He ended up with 2 receptions for 31 yards against arguably one of the worst secondaries in the league, in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We also like this because not only are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers one of the worst secondaries in the league, we figure the Dolphins are going to have to be, constantly playing catch up and not the condiment. Jacoby Brissett threw the ball plenty of times, did it 39 times, just wasn't overly efficient. 27 completions for 275 yards. So the trash it part is that I also went pretty high on Mike Gesicki because I said, okay, if Jalen Waddle is going to be, the wide receiver 1, Gesicki's the guy that he should really be relying upon because that's the guy who, that should be your security blanket here. 4 catches, which was just under his 4.5 receptions, which is so annoying. Absolutely annoying. 43 yards in those ones, average 10.8 yards per reception, went under on both of his props. Extremely frustrating when you see that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers put up 45 points against this Dolphins team who, by the way, and I even said this in my NFL cheat sheet article, I said, I'm not convinced that the Buccaneers are going to have a great scoring week because this is a really good Dolphins secondary. It wasn't this week. It still is a good secondary. Wasn't this week. Probably saw one of the best performances of Tom Brady this season, who, by the way, is also dealing with a thumb injury that we just found out that could hinder his, but that doesn't matter. Tom Brady is, Tom Brady deals with, aches and pains of like an old man and still goes out and does what he does. But 4 passing touchdowns, I think it was for Tom Brady. I'm sorry, five for Tom Brady in that game against the Dolphins.
I think it was his first ever game with 5 passing touchdowns, over 400 yards, and no interceptions.
That's unbelievable.
I'm actually surprised he hasn't done it before, but
right. Yeah, you would think he has. He threw the ball two more times as Jacoby Brissett, made three more completions, and basically doubled his passing total. Like, it's absolutely amazing what Tom Brady is doing. Monster game for Antonio Brown, too, by the way. 7 receptions, 124 yards, which actually overshadowed Mike Evans, who caught 6 for 113 and 2 touchdowns himself. But just a huge game for the Bucs. So I definitely fell into that Dolphins trap last week. So didn't have many trash hits this week, which was great. But that was definitely one of them.
All right, let's get into this Monday night game. I'm flipping through the props right now. It's a tough prop.
Not a great prop game. Not a great prop game.
One of the things that I'm thinking about, I want to pull up Marquis Brown's game log here. I'm doing this. I'm eyeballing this right now. His long reception. I've been getting into long receptions this year.
I like
a little bit more. We did well with that on Chase on a Thursday night football game against the Jags. Missed it on Mike Williams on the Monday night game, and then he comes back and goes nuts against the Browns.
Huge game yesterday. So annoying. Super annoying. But go ahead.
Marquis Brown, long reception, 22 and a half.
Yep.
Feels like he should get one.
He should, but he also should have had 3 of them, 2 weeks ago. That's one of the reasons I like it, because I know they're there, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to drop 3 of them. I mean, you would think he wouldn't drop any of those, because those weren't even close. But truly, like, the frustrating part about those is all 3 of them were extremely catchable. That was just so uncharacteristic of him.
You're still harping on these. That was 2 weeks ago also.
I'm saying, it all blends together because I was so upset by that.
Clearly. All right. I'm slowly making my way to the game logs here. Marquis Brown. Oh my goodness. All right. This is going to be our consensus best bet. I can already tell. His long each week, even with the drops in Detroit, he caught a 37-yarder. Yeah. Last week against Denver, 49. Kansas City, 42. Vegas in week 1, 29. He's gone over by at least 6.5 yards in every game this season.
We'll put it this way. He's averaging 17.2 per reception. So you need him to basically go 5 yards more than his average.
That's ridiculous. All right. Do you want to try and find?
I would say, though, too, and this is something that I think is not being talked about enough. Lamar Jackson as a passer this season has been excellent. He's been really, really good. Like, we talk about how much the Ravens run, which they do. They run the most out of any team in the league. But, like, he has been so good throwing the ball this season. 8.7 yards per pass attempt, 14.4 yards per completion. Like, those are some of the best numbers in the league right now. So you're telling me that we need over 22.5 for Marquis Brown, which, by the way, it's a little juiced up. It's at -120, which is amongst all those longest receptions, is the highest amongst all of them. But that's a pretty low number. But then again, we also said this about Mike Williams last week, and look how that turned out.
Exactly. Let's see where Indy is here. So Indy's a top 10 defense in terms of passing yards allowed, 216 point. Just about 217 yards per game allowed through the air, but I'm still going to go ahead and take this one.
Now, I think I like doing, especially like on these Monday and Thursday games, I like doing the 2-leg teasers on these, doing the total and the team that I want. So
of course you do.
Well, because this is just this is my life now. But you get Baltimore down to -1. And then you get the over down to 40.5. You don't like that?
All right. Yeah, it's not bad. I'm not huge on the same game teasers, but like, that's not many points. And yes, I love Baltimore to win.
Right. Because the other thing is too, is that offensive line for Indy has just been such an issue. Like, it's starting to me, it's like, okay, it's no longer an offensive line issue. It's a Carson Wentz issue, because no matter where he goes, his offensive line, which when he, came into the Colts was regarded as like the best in the league, is now just ravaged by injuries, ravaged by really poor play. And they are dead last in blocking efficiency so far this season, according to Pro Football Focus. So that's going to be an issue for Carson Wentz. He's going to be constantly trying to scramble, which, by the way, he still has 2 bad ankles, not just one. He's got 2 bad ankles. So that's going to be something there too as well. So I'm probably actually looking to take the under on some Carson Wentz props in this one. If he's constantly going to be under pressure, his passing yards is currently set at 223.5, fairly low number. But if that offensive line continues to perform as bad as they've been, Wentz is going to have a hard time moving the ball in this game.
Yeah, I don't mind that take. I mean, I'm not a Carson Wentz guy, so you don't really have to convince me here. I'm just going through props. That's probably, that's going to be my bet in this game. Specific to this game is going to be the Marquis Brown long reception. Do you have any prop that you like more than that?
No, that would probably be the one here. Like I said, I think this is kind of, especially on these Monday and Thursday games, like we've had a lot of games where, there's some really good player prop games. I don't think this is really one of them. This is probably a game I'd be more interested in taking aside, which would be Baltimore -7. But I do really like that Marquise Brown one. Even though he burned me bad a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to suck it up and, put on my big boy pants and, back him again.
Fair. Okay. Like you said, for the game, I'm not going to bet the spread. If you made me bet the spread, it's Baltimore -7. No real thoughts towards Indy there, but I did mention teasing, and I have Baltimore to close out a week 5 teaser. But if you're not doing the same game teaser like Steve and you want to open a Baltimore teaser leg, which I think is a very strong leg, I think Baltimore's winning this game. There's a couple things that jump out, I guess, on the week 6 board for me. Now, I guess here's my question. Housekeeping here on the Unreasonable Odds podcast, which you can follow on Twitter at Unreasonable Odd. I don't know if we did that off the top of the show. We gave away 50 Millionaire Maker tickets on DraftKings DFS platform, obviously, on Friday. This is something we're going to start doing weekly, giving away some tickets. So you're going to want to follow that Twitter handle and get these giveaways for free tickets on Thursdays or for Thursdays and or Fridays, whenever we're doing it. My housekeeping question, I guess, is do we want to talk about those teaser legs to go with Baltimore here in the Monday Night Football segment, or do we want to save those for our look ahead week 6 segment? It probably fits better in week 6.
Yeah. So why don't we do odds are with Johnny Avello? Yep. That's a tease. That's how you're listening to a professional podcast. That is an industry standard, is doing the tease. We will get to all that. The teaser with the tease. We'll get to that after Johnny Avello joined Julian Edlow earlier today, talking about a very, very good week for the public in week 5 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Doing a little look ahead at week 6 and a little MLB talk. Stay tuned for that.
It is Monday. It is the Unreasonable Odds podcast presented by DraftKings, and that only means one thing. It is time for Odds Are with Johnny Avello. Johnny, happy Monday. How are we?
Julian, doing well. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're looking back on week 5 at first. Kind of an insane day, especially with those kickers. A lot of missed extra points, a lot of missed field goals, and still yet some kickers nailing some big ones to push through some money line parlays, some teaser pieces. Most specifically, the Patriots, very big favorites in Houston. The Vikings, very big favorites hosting the Lions. Neither covered, so I imagine the book kind of got helped out a little bit there, but what did this mean for the books with those teams kind of coming through and winning the games on late game winning field goals?
Yeah, those 2 games you just mentioned were not our biggest games of the day, but they certainly added to the mix of the bettors having a great day on moneyline parlays and some teasers, and it really did depend on what number that you did receive. The game that really stung us, though, was and it gave the public the push to string all those exotic bets together. That was the Packer game.
Wow.
The kicking proverb for that game was try and try again until you succeed.
Yes, 4 or 5 times. Just keep doing it. And the Bengals missing a huge one as well. If there was ever a game that deserved to end in a tie, I would say Packers-Bengals just deserved to let that one wash.
Agreed.
But all right, the public got there on Green Bay, a short favorite. I believe that was 3, and kind of moved towards the Cincy side throughout the week. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, who are a perfect 5-0 against the spread, the last perfect team, I believe, in the NFL against the spread. Last year's Dallas Cowboys got 5 starts from Dak Prescott before he got hurt. They started 0-5 ATS. So it's a completely different swing for this Cowboys team. Do you feel like Dallas has been underpriced this season? Or is this something we kind of should have seen coming with the Cowboys?
Well, maybe let's go back maybe to game 1 against Tampa. We opened that game Bucks -7. That game got pushed to 9, so we actually opened the correct number. The bettors like the one side. Second game against the Chargers, yes, they were +3. Maybe that should have been 2.5. And then maybe a little cheap in game 3 at home versus the Eagles at 3.5. But since then, the adjustments that we have made have been fitting.
All right. And you got the Cowboys, I believe, 4.5-point road favorites now on DraftKings Sportsbook in New England, who we just talked about, kind of just skating by the Texans at the end there. One more follow-up there on the Cowboys, I guess. So the lines kind of moved on them early. Everybody likes to bet on Tom Brady and Tampa. You said maybe, a little underpriced against the Chargers, but they've been appropriate since then. How do you kind of handle setting these numbers with such a public team? Because you're generally going to get Cowboys money. We know that. So how does that kind of factor in when a public team, America's team, in this case, the Dallas Cowboys, is the team that's 5-0 against the spread moving forward?
You don't get into that too much, Julian. What you should do is you adjust your power ratings and then you put up your numbers. Now, you could maybe add an extra 0.5 point on a game like that with the Cowboys if you feel like the public is going to generally just be over the one side. But for the most part, we kind of let the numbers take care of themselves. If the Cowboys continue to cover, we raise their power rating a little. And if they fall off a little, we lower it. So over the course of time, we just let the numbers take care of themselves.
Fair enough. We got the Bills, went into Arrowhead Stadium, primetime stage, smack the Chiefs as 2.5-point underdogs, kind of moving around throughout the week. I want to talk about I was on the Bills in this one. I thought this was going to be a kind of a power shift in the AFC. The Bills were knocking on the door last year, lost the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs. Now the Chiefs have the Super Bowl hangover. They got a little bit of a dinged up defense, and the public dog came through, obviously, on Sunday Night Football. But what does this mean for the futures market in the AFC in your mind? Because we got the Bills now as the favorites, +250 to win the AFC, +550 to win the Super Bowl. Was that game on Sunday night something where the perception kind of moves the futures market?
Indeed, it was. When your team has been playing well and you go into the defending champs of the AFC's home field, and you do what you would term as smack the round a little bit, they must take over the commander's role. I mean, it's at least for now. If you still like the Chiefs, this is a really good opportunity to latch on to a better future price at 7.5 to 1 and 3.5 to 1 for the conference. But those adjustments are going to take place all year long. If you're playing well, we're going to adjust the futures, and if you fall off a little, we're going to adjust them the opposite way.
Yep, makes sense. Thursday Night Football, we had the Rams going to Seattle and win that one, cover that one as a slight road favorite. But Russell Wilson, the story in this one, got the surgery on his middle finger. Geno Smith did come into the game, looked decent, then wound up losing the game with the interception down the stretch. With Russell Wilson out for whatever this is going to be, it looks like about a month or two, somewhere in that range. How do you price Seattle moving forward? We've got them. That's scheduled to be the Sunday night game next week at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been all over the place this year. Seattle now a 4.5-point dog on DraftKings Sportsbook in that game. This is just a more impactful situation. Like, this isn't Washington losing Fitzpatrick and getting ticked down a couple of points. Miami going down from Tua to Brissett and not moving much. This is Russell Wilson to Geno Smith. So what does this mean in setting these lines going forward for Seattle?
Well, the Seahawks are losing one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And so the drop off in Washington and Miami, it really isn't that extreme. But then in this case, it really is. Now, let's look at the future book prices. We took Seattle. We doubled the odds. They're 80-1 now to win a Super Bowl. They're 35-1 to win the conference, 18-1 to win a division. So, it's all about Geno Smith now. We've priced this next game on where we feel it should be with him in there. If he turns out to be better than expected, then we'll make another adjustment. But right now, the team is just in disarray. It's been shaken up. So, and the Steelers had a good game yesterday. So a little bit of, play for the Steelers here on the line, a little bit of adjustment, of course, a drastic adjustment on Seattle. And so we'll see what happens here moving forward.
And so what was I didn't catch the look ahead number, but what would you say this game, Johnny, would be set at with Wilson quarterbacking? What is the drop off, I guess, in terms of the spread going from a Russell Wilson to a Geno Smith?
With the Steelers game yesterday, a positive game for them, then only a pick. But if the Steelers prior to that, Seattle would have been a small favorite.
Okay, so we're looking at 5-6 points here potentially with Seattle. Okay, that makes sense. All right, really quick, Monday Night Football. We got the Colts touchdown underdogs in Baltimore. I guess where are we seeing it looks like the majority of the tickets and the bigger tickets are laying that touchdown with Baltimore. Are we going to see this one grow to over a touchdown by kickoff, I guess, is my question here.
I don't think it'll make it past 7. Open 6.5. It's now 7. And, you could see some extra juice on the 7. Those are, key number like 7 is sometimes a number we hold at and just move the juice accordingly. But there's a lot going into this game now from, the games yesterday. There was a lot of tie-in to this game, money line, teaser. So, this game's a little bit of a hazard for the book.
Yeah, the public did well on Sunday, and like you said, I think a lot of them are tied into. I have my Minnesota-Baltimore teaser closing up tonight, and I don't think I'm alone on that one. All right, as always, let's really quickly look forward to, I wrote week 5 in my notes, but we just played week 5, so we're going to look forward to week 6.
Be great if we could play week 5 again, wouldn't it? And the results.
For you guys, I know behind the books, you guys want to play week 5 again, but we're not.
And we want to play it again too.
The public is going to take their money and run, and then probably bring it back and reinvest it in week 6, and we'll see how we do. We got a good one Thursday night. The Bucks touchdown favorites in Philly. We got some big favorites like the Rams going into the Giants after a bad loss to the Cowboys, losing a lot of bodies. We got some tighter point spreads. We got another London game with the Jags and the Dolphins. They just keep getting gems over there across the pond for these games. Where's some of the bigger bets going so far on this week 6 card?
You mentioned one. Miami's playing at Jacksonville in London, or playing Jacksonville in London. I guess that's Jacksonville's second home. And there's a bit of anticipation of, with Tua returning. So that line went from 3 to 4, Miami. The Cowboys at the Pats was the biggest mover, going from Cowboys -1 to 4. And then the Broncos opened at 2.5 at home playing the Las Vegas Raiders. That's a line that's now sitting at 3. I expect that thing could possibly go higher.
All right. Speaking about those lines moving a little bit, what based on the numbers that are on the board now, what do you think moves the most by kickoff? A couple of games.
A few of those games are going to move some more. There's some games that haven't moved yet that'll move probably a half a point to a full point. You and I spoke couple weeks ago about games that could possibly switch favorites. Vikings are at the Panthers and are, there's a 1.5 point favorite there. And I could see that being one of those games that exchanges roles where the Vikings could actually end up going off the small favorite.
That's every time we talk about a game where the favorite is switching, I feel like the Vikings seem to be involved in a close point spread.
That's strange, isn't it?
Yeah, they're finding themselves in a lot of coin toss games, I guess that means. And that's been the case. They've all seemed to been coming down to the wire. All right, that's it for NFL, but really quickly, kind of like we did last week, let's touch on some MLB here. Last week we talked about the Dodgers still being World Series favorites despite having to play in that wild card game. They advanced, walk-off home run, covered the run line, dramatic fashion. And here they are, 1-1 against the Giants. Big home favorites with Max Scherzer on Monday, plus 240 World Series favorites. Did you see much action after the Dodgers kind of got through that one game where bettors were a little nervous? I don't want to bet someone to win the World Series when it could all end for them in this one game. But now people feel a little bit more safe that, okay, they're firmly in the field. Have we seen more Dodgers money pile in or not because they're just the favorite?
Yeah, this is a team that certainly been a favorite all year long.
Yeah.
And so you take this price here, you get $1.75, with the Giants. And so if the Giants could pull off a win here, certainly going to drop that number to quite a bit. So the money's still showing up on the Dodgers a little bit. You could have got 4-1 before that playoff, and that was that little bit of an extra game. Right. Now it's back to 12-5. That's a number that's been hanging around for probably over a month. But there was a little better price out there. But hey, if you're the fortune teller and you know what's going to happen, then you should have jumped in a little bit earlier.
Exactly. All right, I want to touch on the Giants really quickly because, like you said, the Dodgers have been favored all year long, the favorite. They didn't even win their division. I can't remember the last time that happened. That's because the Giants go 30 whatever games over their win total and take the West. From the Giants side of things here, this is a really good team that is split at 1-1, but they're obviously a pretty sizable road dog on Monday. They're plus 650, the Giants right now, to win the World Series. This is probably the value point. If you like the Giants, you take them. You hope they get through Scherzer. Otherwise, you got to win the next two. If the Giants were to win this game and upset the Dodgers on the road, how far down do you think that plus 650 price would go?
Well, one thing, Julian, and when you go back and look at these two teams to start the season, I mean, the Dodgers' expectation was 100 plus games, and so they've done what they're supposed to do, and the team's loaded. Look what they picked up during the season. I mean, every position is they're in good shape. They got great pitching. Now, we mentioned how they're $1.75 in that Scherzer matchup. They can pull off that win. You can expect that Giant number to drop to about 4-1. That would mean that they would be needing one win of the next two and guaranteed a home game on Thursday if required. So if you feel that's going to happen, grab the 650 now because it is going to take a substantial drop.
There you go. Houston, we talked about the Astros last week. They took the Macker, the big bet. Off to a pretty decent start, got up 2-0, now 2-1. We'll see how, when people listen to this, that White Sox game probably is in action. But with the good start for Houston, have we seen any additional money coming on to them to win the AL?
Not anything of great importance. The plus 320 or 16-5 is a little short for the bettors to get involved right now. They know that next series with either the Red Sox or the Rays is going to be problematic and demanding. So I don't think the 320 is enticing much money at this point.
All right. And finally, we talked about the underdog Red Sox last week. I gave out the underdog Red Sox last week in the wild card game against the New York Yankees. Yes, myself and one of our producers, Matt Durgan, attended the game at Fenway Park and probably played a huge role in the Red Sox coming through and cashing our tickets for plus money. Now down 1-0 to the Rays. They get creamed. They look awful in game one. Win them both. Since then, what's the handle been like on the Red Sox? Not necessarily in these games, but in the futures market, as they've kind of just they're a public team, but I feel like nobody's really believed in them since they kind of came undone in July, and now they're showing some promise again.
Yeah. Well, first of all baseball playoff handle has been exceptional, but the Sox, the Red Sox, that is, we have two Sox in there,
Right.
do have their following. Remember, this team was only predicted to win 80, 81 games, and many around baseball were waiting for the fallout in the midsummer. But guess what? It didn't happen. You talk about some future tickets. There are some good-sized future tickets out there, and we can talk about some of those on a future podcast.
All right, that's called a tease. We will get to Red Sox futures if they are still alive next week, and maybe talk about some of those. Actually, but you sparked one quick question for me, Johnny, before I let you go. The MLB playoff handle has been exceptional. When you compare that to like a Monday night football game that we have between the Ravens and Colts, are any of these MLB games going to get more handle than Monday night football?
No, it won't do what a Monday night football game does, but it could surpass some of the games on a Sunday, individual games. It's not gonna outdo any of the prime time games, though.
That makes sense. Still, baseball games outdoing an NFL game when NFL is king. Impressive enough on its own. All right, Johnny Avello, that is Odds Are with the man himself, Johnny Avello. Thanks as always for joining us on Unreasonable Odds, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Thank you, Julian.
All right, that was Odds Are with Johnny Avello. A pleasure as always. Very informative from behind the book, both on NFL and MLB there. I'm already regretting not asking about that Alabama game, how the book did on that. I'm gonna have to incorporate some college football in this moving forward, because certainly got quite a bit of my money the books did on Alabama. But prior to Johnny, we teased some potential teasers here, and we'll get into it because now we're going to talk about week 6. But I think where I want to start week 6, because it could be a teaser week, is teaser legs that can go with Baltimore. If you're watching this on Monday and you get Baltimore against the Colts on Monday Night Football as a leg, or if you're listening to it later, because I think there's other pieces that you can tease together. And we can go right to the primetime game because you see it there on Thursday, October 14th. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are -6.5 at the Philadelphia Eagles. Steve's Philadelphia Eagles. Huge Eagles guy.
And who won last week?
They beat my Carolina Panthers. I'm a big Carolina Panthers guy.
Yeah,
not a good one for me. That can be in trash hit. Bucks -6.5. I don't think the Bucks are going to lose to the Eagles. This is going to be a terrible defensive game. 50.5.
See, that's what worries me. It really does. Right? Because of how bad both defenses are going to be in this one. So you would obviously side with the one who has the stronger offensive team, which is by far the Bucks. But it's just like, this is one of those games where like literally anything could happen. And I would not be surprised with any type of outcome.
This one, I'm a little more confident than you. This one reminds me of what we just talked about, whatever it was, a couple weeks ago with Eagles Chiefs. Now it was more of a must-win game for the Chiefs, whereas the Bucks are just kind of looking to keep coasting here. But when you have the bad secondaries and it's like, okay, well, now we need to trust an offense more. It's Brady, it's Mahomes and the Chiefs, and it's Brady and the Bucks, well above Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. So I think that Tampa's going to get this one done on the road on the short week. I guess at some point you got to watch out for Tampa dropping a dumb game. And I don't count the Rams as that. I think that was a fine loss to a good team on the road early in the season. The Rams cared more about that game. And then
quite frankly, it could have been that Patriots game, right? That could have been that game. Yeah.
Could have been that one. Like the Bucks will drop one or two silly ones along the way. So is on the road on a short week in a place like Philly one of those spots? That's my only red flag. Like at some point, there's going to be a couple dumb losses here for Tampa, but I don't. They're going to win a lot more than they're going to lose. I'm willing to keep going with them. So I think Tampa's a fine teaser leg here.
Doesn't that total seem odd though? Like 50.5, like that's it. Like that's really
Yeah.
odd. That's really, really odd.
Um,
And that worries me too, because I'm like, why is this 50.5? Like, is it because
It
of the
is low.
short week? And I don't know. I don't know. But like I see 50.5 and like that's what I would maybe expect if I tease the total down, right? Like with these two teams playing, I'd be like, so now you tell me I can tease this down to 44.5? Like that just seems really, really odd. Like I granted, it was a tough matchup for the Eagles defense against that Panthers defense last week, so they didn't put up a ton, but that should have been expected, right? Like that wasn't anything out of the ordinary. So now you're telling me the Buccaneers, who continue to deal with like injuries after injuries after injuries, and it's like they're basically playing their B squad for their secondary, 50.5. Like I'm either going to hammer this and get absolutely annihilated, or this is going to be like one of the easiest totals to pass. I against a Bucs team that just put up almost 50 on themselves yesterday.
On themselves? You mean they
scored by themselves? By themselves.
By themselves. Okay. I don't, what are we having, like an inter-squad scrimmage here?
We might be. I don't know.
I mean, the Bucs could definitely score 50 points against the Bucs defense. All right. And I will say, I kind of shot down your Monday night primetime teaser. Thursday night primetime teaser, I would prefer. Give me the Bucs to win and over 44.5.
Yeah.
That's the primetime teaser that I would say I prefer. The other piece here is the Chiefs in Washington. You're going against a good defense. This is different than the Eagles game because this is not a good offensive team like the Eagles with a bad defense. It's a good defensive team with a bad offense.
You sure about that?
So it's different. That's how. Yes, I'm sure. 55 total is pretty high. So apparently Washington's going to put up some points here, and anybody can put up points on the Chiefs. But again, this is coming off a big loss, and the Chiefs need to bounce back. By far my least favorite of Baltimore, Tampa, and Kansas City, but I think this is another bounce back spot for Kansas City to get a win.
Opponents' points per game allowed. Kansas City, 32.6. Mm-hmm. Washington, next, 31. This is not a good defensive team.
All right.
Washington is allowing points after points after points. That team defensively that you remember from 2020, grab your pencil, turn it over to the eraser side, and erase that memory from your brain. That is not the team anymore. These two teams have allowed the most points on average in the NFL right now. 32.6 for the Chiefs, 31 for Washington.
So you going over?
Hell yes, I'm going over.
Okay. Just making sure.
But so yes, like the Chiefs to win, fine. I don't feel great about it because we keep saying like, the Chiefs going to bounce back. Chiefs going to bounce back. They looked bad yesterday on Sunday night. They did not look like, granted, Buffalo has all around just a great team. Not even on the same level as Washington. Washington is like 3 tiers below, I would dare to say. But that Chiefs defense is putrid. It's like water. Like nothing is, there's nothing to push back against them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I'm not even talking about the same different offenses, like not even close with Washington, but they're just that bad, man. And that's just what worries me. That's all. On a normal basis, should Patrick Mahomes tear this, Washington football team apart? Of course. But, and this could just be, me getting caught up in recency bias, but I don't love it. I don't love just the outright Chiefs to win. They should win. They probably will win. Minus 305 on the money line. That tells you all you need to know, but you can't feel great about the Chiefs team right now.
All right. Let's move to the rest of the week 6 board here.
I got to throw something out.
Go ahead.
Why are the Cardinals 2.5 dogs on the road against Cleveland?
Yeah, that was 3 also. And it's going to take a lot of public money. That's maybe the trap game of the week.
That's what I was thinking too.
Because if you go back I like to put stock in where we kind of saw things preseason. Even though the Cardinals are playing well, they're a good team. It's not like they're not the best team in the NFL. They're not going to keep just running teams over. And the Browns are, a solid team. They've probably underperformed a little bit is what I'm trying to say. I would like to go ahead and be contrarian and let this number shrink and then take the Browns in like a pick 'em.
Yeah.
But I can't get out of my head the defense that we just saw against the Chargers.
Right.
If Herbert and the Chargers can do that, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals can probably do something similar. So I'm staying away from this game completely. I think that a lot of Cardinals money is going to come in as an underdog against the Browns. The Browns are, a lot of people said, if the Bills or Browns can take down the Chiefs in the AFC. The Bills are looking like that team. The Browns aren't quite there, but that's the ceiling of the Browns. So they can certainly win a home game against the Cardinals that are due to slip up at some point.
Yeah. Man, that's just going to be like, you just look at that and you're like, you obviously want to take it, right?
No, I
Undefeated.
know. I don't.
That's just going to be, I'll be really interested to see how that shakes out, but
I would say don't bet that game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to bet the Browns, but if you made me bet it, I would bet the Browns.
Yep. No, that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Your survivor piece of the week. If anybody needs a survivor, if anybody needs a money line leg piece, that would be the Rams at the Giants, who might be down a lot of bodies. I don't know if I'm going to lay the 10.5, but yeah, that's a piece. Do with that what you will with your survivors and your money line parlays. I actually, if a spread jumps out to me, it's the London game. What?
I was hoping you were going to say Houston.
We'll get there later.
Dolphins and Jags.
I like all this distraction for the Jags. They let down against the Titans. You got Urban Meyer in the news for all the wrong reasons. And then Urban Meyer after the game saying, well, Trevor Lawrence, our 6'6" quarterback, isn't comfortable doing quarterback sneaks. So they asked Trevor Lawrence, are you comfortable doing quarterback sneaks? Absolutely. I don't see why not. They're not on the same page. Now they're going to go to Urban Meyer can't get this NFL thing down. And now they're going to go to London and experience all new things yet again, a new week. Even though the Jags go to London all the time, Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence don't go to London. Now you got to do that whole thing against a Miami team that looks bad right now because they got smoked.
Yep.
They have good coaching. They have a solid defense. Tua should be back for this game.
Right.
I'm just going to keep selling on the Jags until I don't have to. This is a neutral field one too. This isn't in Jacksonville. So
right.
Miami minus 3.5. I'm probably just going to keep betting against Jacksonville until it doesn't work.
Yeah. So Miami was the best team against the spread last year, only 2-3 to start this season. Just haven't been a great team against the spread, but in this scenario, I don't see why I wouldn't take them either. I mean, just so much is wrong with the Jaguars and, whether it's on the field, off the field. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I will say, is definitely growing in front of our eyes, like week after week. Like I'm getting more impressed with him every week that we see him, but
he can play. It just, the situation isn't there right now.
And, I still really believe that even though they just got absolutely torched last week, like the Miami has a good secondary. And I think that's going to kind of show up this week against the Jaguars.
You can't fault him for getting beat by Brady and those receivers on the road.
Now you have you go from the A offense to the D offense in a matter of 7 days. And I think this is going to be a much different looking Miami defense. And then offense with Tua, who, we've talked about before, is much more apt to throw downfield, whereas Jacoby Brissett is not. That's going to be something that they haven't had over the past couple of weeks. That fits the mold of guys like Waddle and Devontae Parker, who, if he's healthy, would, obviously be a big boost to this offense. But that offense is better fit with Tua, obviously, but it really is better for their receivers because they have a number of downfield guys, whereas Jacoby Brissett doesn't play to that strength.
Yep. Okay, this is kind of Texans related. They just looked good. That was a letdown spot for the Patriots. Man, the Texans are poorly coached. Wow. But the Patriots being in a grinder there was kind of embarrassing. Patriots bounce back from that grinder at home, get up for this game against the Cowboys at Gillette. look ahead line here was around to pick 'em, Dallas -1. Give me the Patriots +4.5 hosting the Dallas Cowboys.
What? Why?
Because they're going to be up for this game at home. For all the reasons that they covered against the Bucks. And I didn't bet either side on the spread against the Bucks. I bet I teased the Bucks. But I said as my take that the Bucks would roll, and they didn't. Patriots are going to be able to stay in this game and grind it.
Oh,
That was a classic letdown week for the Patriots. That was supposed to be a letdown.
I mean, I think every week except the Bucks week was a letdown week.
Yeah, but I mean, they're there against the Bucks. They do what they're supposed to do against the Jets. Damian Harris fumble loses them week 1. You know, I'm not supporting what the Patriots have done, but like, you know, Jonnu Smith doesn't hand over a free touchdown and that drive continues to start the second half. Maybe you make it a game against the Saints. Like
this is very Kenny Ducey of you, and I don't like it.
I'm not telling you that the Patriots are good. I'm just telling you that there's good value on +4.5 at home against the Cowboys. What have I been saying all year about the Cowboys? Like they're due to regress at some point. That first game, the Bucks leave 16 points on the table. The second game, the Chargers get 14 points called back. Third game, they smoke the Eagles. Fourth game, they smoke the Panthers. Fifth game, they smoke the Giants, but everybody gets hurt. Like the Cowboys are due to slow at some point.
So Dallas is the only team that is 5-0 against the spread so far this season.
So that maybe, and I talked about this with Johnny. Are they a little overvalued? And he said maybe they were, or a little undervalued. And he said maybe they were at one point, but now they're appropriately priced. But it's still a 5-0 ATS team that's playing a team that everybody's going to remember now. Instead of how good they played against Tampa, how bad they played against Houston. I just think this number's off. They should be closer to a pick'em game.
So they're 5-0 against the spread, and they're also covering by an average of 10 points, which only one of 3 teams are doing. And you look at those wins, like, 20 points against Philly, 12 points against Carolina. Obviously the shellacking of the Giants last week, 24 points against them. That Patriots secondary looks so bad against Davis Mills yesterday.
Yep.
Now you have to face Dak with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson, Dalton Schultz, like a lot of mouths to feed. Whereas, Mills was basically going to Brandon Cooks. Like, that's just, I don't know.
Mills didn't even use Brandon Cooks. He used other guys that we've never heard of.
Well, I'm saying that's all he usually has to go to is Brandon Cooks. Whereas, Dak has a smorgasbord to choose from.
Yeah.
Like I have no problem taking, not a great number at 4.5. That's obviously not an appealing number, but I don't see the Patriots covering here.
You can make that argument, but then how did they stop the Bucks? So they're capable of it, at least.
They're capable, but they also should have been capable of stopping the Houston Texans.
0-3 at home. If the Patriots start 0-4 at home, they're in big trouble.
Let me tell you something. I will almost put money down that by the time Sunday 12:50 p.m. Eastern rolls around, you're going to be
425 game.
Okay, so 350. 420. 420. You'll be on the Cowboys.
I'm not betting the Cowboys this week. It's Patriots or no.
You'll change your mind. You know what the worst part is? You'll do it, but you won't tell me because you're a coward. And you won't admit that you're wrong.
I'll tell you, I'm not wrong. The Patriots are going to be able to score too, I think, against this secondary a little bit. It all depends on the Patriots play calling because I don't know what they were doing in Houston. I don't know. I can't explain it, but they clearly opened it up at home against the Bucks, and this is a defense that they should do a similar thing that they did to the Bucks.
Yep. Would you be surprised if I told you that the Patriots still are passing at one of the highest rates in the league?
No, because there were a lot of dink and dunk screens against Houston. They obviously only passed against Tampa, and that counts big towards their season number. And they had to pass against New Orleans.
65% of the time. Fourth highest in the league behind Tampa, Dolphins, Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't run the ball at all against Tampa or New Orleans, so those games were all passed, and then they kind of did a lot of dinking and dunking against Houston. It makes sense.
Yep. All right. You feel good about that? We'll continue on Thursday.
Got some teaser legs. We got Miami -3.5, New England +4.5 on the card for right now. Do you have anything? Is there a spread? You want to talk Houston Indy before we get out of here? No.
I just feel like Houston's going to be able to cover that. I mean, obviously there is a lot to be seen for tonight against the Colts, but for them to open at +10, like from what I saw yesterday, I mean, really, I mean, they have a good pass rush. So like this is again another scenario where like Carson Wentz might not be able to really efficiently get the ball down the field. So +10 for the Texans, I'll take that, sure. Or throw them in a teaser, get them at 16. Let's go, baby.
God, here you go, teasing the Texans every week.
Hey, it worked out mighty fine last week against the Patriots. Wasn't it? They were almost.
How'd it go the week that you wanted to do it? Oh, let's get it from 17 to 23 against the Bills. Oh, why we lost 40-0.
I only speculated. I did not take that. I just speculated. That's all. It's
poor speculation.
But that's why it's speculation. I didn't knock it down as a play. It was just speculation. Just talked about it.
True.
That's all.
You're allowed to speculate.
All right. Do you want to sprinkle in some MLB here?
Forgot about that, but yes. There's going to be a 4-game slate on Monday. Now we got the White Sox Astros going on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Red Sox underdogs making some noise. Some crazy games at Fenway in this postseason.
Yeah.
Dodgers Giants tied up at 1 apiece. Scherzer big favorite in the critical game in that one. I had a play on White Sox first 5 on Monday. If it's the same matchup, I'll play it. But now Houston can potentially bring back McCullers, right? Which I want no part of going against him.
I would not either.
So we'll see about that. Considering that it's Colin McHugh starting on Monday at Fenway, I'm afraid to back Eduardo Rodriguez. I'm afraid to back Chris Sale if he's coming out of the bullpen behind Rodriguez in this game. But I don't mind going against Colin McHugh, and I don't mind taking a hot team that probably feels like they have to win this game at home to not have a game 5 in Tampa. So if I play anything on Monday, it'll be the Red Sox money line.
I would say if you're taking anything on Monday for the 2 later games, I would absolutely take over 9 runs against with the Rays and the Red Sox. It actually came down from 9.5. I'm shocked that it came down. Actually, I think 9 runs makes it even more appealing. So these 2 teams have met 22 times already this season. In those games, the game total averages 11.1 runs. These 2 teams just absolutely mash against each other.
And these aren't even the good pitchers going.
And that's what I was going to say. These aren't even good pitchers going. Like Colin McHugh should be followed by Michael Wacha. Those are the 2 pitchers in game 2 that the Red Sox got 9 runs on 11 hits on through 4 1/3 innings. That was it. That was in Tampa, by the way. Now they're in Boston at Fenway Park. We already seen all the crazy stuff that's happened here at Fenway Park. Eduardo Rodriguez against the Tampa Bay Rays at Fenway Park this season. 9 innings pitched, 8 runs on 12 hits. He's going to get shelled, which is a good thing for the over, because that means we're going to get even more bullpen game tonight. That's the thing too. Like they used so many pitchers last night that I don't even know who could potentially come out of the bullpen tonight. They had to use Nick Pivetta, who was supposed to start this game for 3 innings last night. And that basically saved their season. But there's just like nobody left. Both of these teams used, I think it was 12 total pitchers last night. Like there's nobody left. So when you're on the brink of elimination and you're using Colin McHugh and Michael Wacha, stuff's gone wrong. Okay. So over 9 runs in that one. I would be shocked, like so shocked if that game went under. And then for Giants Dodgers, don't love that game. I'd probably take Dodgers over 4.5 runs. You can currently get it at plus money at plus 105. Alex Wood has been phenomenal for the Giants all season long, except when he plays the Dodgers. That's one of the only teams that really has given him any issues. He gave up 14 total home runs during the regular season. 5 of them came against the Dodgers. That's almost 40% of his season total. You already look at Julian's already placing his bets. 5 home runs.
I'm looking at, I mean, everybody will know this by the time they listen to this, but I'm looking at CEH going to miss multiple weeks with a knee.
Yeah, I did see that as it came across here. But yeah, so Alex Wood, 5 home runs against the Dodgers. has not been strong against this team at all. The Dodgers have some of the best power hitters against lefties overall. Trey Turner, Albert Pujols, don't forget, still has massive power against lefties. In total, Alex Wood against the Dodgers this season, 17 innings pitched, 9 runs, 20 hits, 5.64 FIP. This is going to be a tough start for him. Give me that plus money on the Dodgers over 4.5 runs.
Okay. I like that Red Sox over 9. I'm going to bet that.
I'm honestly shocked that it came down half a run after McHugh was announced as a starter. Like, I expected to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and this is more gut feeling, but I think the Red Sox win the game.
I think they do too. But it's going to be like a 9-8 game or 8-6, something like that.
Okay,
that's what I think is going to end up being. But I
All
do
right,
think they win this. I do think they win this game, and then they're in trouble when they face Houston.
Yeah, but they were supposed to be in trouble when they faced the Rays.
Right.
I one of them. However,
Yep.
I did say, I've been putting all my baseball plays on Twitter, by the way. I'm absolutely on fire, which will probably end by the time you listen to this podcast, because MLB regression will find me. But I didn't put this one on Twitter. It was almost a little bit of a fan bet just to have some fun rooting for the Red Sox. I knew they were going to lose game 1. I should have bet Tampa in game 1 because that was just an awful spot coming off the emotional Yankees win. You travel. You're going against a guy that's killed you all season. But I said whoever wins, and the Red Sox have not won the series, but I said whoever wins game 2 will win the series. Because if the Red Sox are split in Tampa and they come back and have Eovaldi on the mound in game 3, you're feeling really good and you have a good chance to go up 2-1, which they did. My reasons for it were completely wrong. I was like, well, if they win game 2, that means Sale looks good and they have him for later in the series. They won in spite of Chris Sale.
Right.
And then I thought that game 3 would be kind of convincing, and it came down to one of the flukiest calls in MLB postseason history to get the win. So I haven't been spot on with the analysis, but here we are. I should have put this one on Twitter. I have Red Sox plus 310 for the series from after game 1.
Wow, nice.
So I don't need to bet the Red Sox in game 4. I'll just sit back and root for them and probably take that total.
All right, so that's going to do it for this edition of the Unreasonable Odds podcast. We will be back on Thursday with another guest. We'll be going over the entire Week 6 board to get you ready from all the betting angles. For Julian, Edlow, I'm Steve Buchanan. We'll catch you on Thursday.